True Seeker. Again, I'm using my backup mic, so the audio quality is probably not going to be quite as good, but apparently it doesn't buzz. So I'm still trying to troubleshoot that because I want to use the nicer mic, but that buzz has been annoying some of you guys. Myself, I can't hear the buzz, but that's because I have tinnitus. My tinnitus is louder than the buzz is, apparently. Anyhow, a lot of you guys asked me to cover this story a little more than a week ago, and I should have covered it at the time. And if you've seen my older work on Mount Rainier, you might have just caught it right away. But yeah, Mount Rainier, the behemoth of an active volcano just south of Seattle, it had 300 earthquakes, more than 300 earthquakes between July 8th and July 10th. And that end date stands out in a major way. We'll get to why. But I just want to remind, I went to Arizona State University. There used to be a science professor there, John Holloway. He got to do a lot of cool things in the world. He was kind of a big shot in the world of science. He was probably one of the more acclaimed professors at Arizona State University. But something always stuck with me, being someone who is from the Pacific Northwest, even though I went down to school at Arizona State. He would routinely remind his class not to live in Seattle. And he'd always say that Mount Rainier is very dangerous. It's an active volcano, and it's rated that it could erupt as soon as tomorrow or within the next million years, which obviously is a big time frame. But he said when that thing erupts, it's going to wipe out a lot of the people that live around there, because Seattle's built on the mud flows of the last time Rainier erupted. And of course, Seattle's probably one of the safer cities to be in terms of all the populace around Mount Rainier. South of there, Tacoma, Puyallup, all that could be in real big trouble if Rainier ever erupted. But yeah, this ending on July 10th. I'm just going to go back and show you a post I did years ago on Mount Rainier. And let me just scroll down here and see if this starts to make sense about July 10th. The majority of the world writes the date 10/7, like 107. And notice the gematria of volcano, Seattle, Mount Rainier, and military. They're all 107. So you had this bizarre 3-day stretch of over 300 earthquakes, and they just happened to conclude. It just happened to all stop on the date that can be written 10/7. This is where I would contend that this isn't Mother Nature, that this is military experimentation. And part of me almost wonders if, with all the population control stuff going on, Seattle being a city they like to tinker with, like the first case of Cooties 19 in Bill Gates' backyard, where his headquarters right across the street from the world's biggest needle. It just makes me wonder. And that John Holloway, he brought it up too much. Because, again, I had his class 2 times in college. And, just brings it up multiple times over the course of the semester. Both times I had him, and I'm sure he did that his whole life. He's really adamant about people not living in Seattle. Does he know something? Does this man know something? And sadly, I can't ask him because he's passed away. If you look up John Holloway, the professor, he died some time back now. I graduated from Arizona State in 2005, 20 years ago. But again, this is the power of this knowledge. And by the way, yeah, that Eddington movie is out, where Austin Butler's character is, of course, based in part on yours truly, since he's literally quoting me word for word for the things I was saying in the time of Cooties 19. I've been watching people's reviews of it. It's funny. I've watched like 8 reviews on. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've watched about 8 people's review on YouTube, and one of them was done by a duo of 2 gay men. They might be partners, and then another one was also done by a gay man. What I found funny is all 3 of these gay men absolutely despise Austin Butler's character, and they talk about how he's just some like wackadoodle cult leader, conspiracy theorist, spewing a whole bunch of crap and misinformation. And again, I don't know everything that's said in the movie, but they did use the trailer with his quote about 1956 and all the things that went down that year to promote that movie. First trailer, and of course it's verbatim from what I said. But if any of those gay men, because I did leave them comments on their videos that they should look more into my work, since Austin Butler, his character's based in part on yours truly, and how if you learn what he's actually talking about, gematria and the practice of coding numbers into words and ritualism, you start to see more clearly what's actually going on in the world. Now, granted, I understand a lot of people will look at something like this and they'll say something like, "Oh, you just have confirmation bias," because that's what people have been telling me for the whole time I've been looking into this. And again, I wouldn't say I have confirmation bias. I didn't know what it was about numbers and rituals, but I saw something was going on with numbers and rituals, whether it was the nightly news or an event like 9/11, Cooties 19, where it was 56, 56, 56. It was just nonstop 56s. But yeah, this post right here, this is way before this just happened with Seattle. This post is from, I posted this November 14th, 2023. So it's almost 2 years later. And this wasn't the first time I talked about this either, but it was just in response to something else going on at the time. And by the way, just Seattle. Seattle's the only major city in America that equates to 19. 19 is a special number, but Vulcan equals 19. Vulcan is the, wait, where did I put it at? Did I not put it here? Oh, it's right here. Vulcan's 19. Again, Vulcan is the god of volcanoes. Seattle's the city that's right next to one of the world's largest active volcanoes. Again, if you look up the list of the most dangerous cities to live in the entire world, Seattle's always ranked in the top 30 because of Mount Rainier, specifically because of Mount Rainier. It might have climbed the list because of what's been going on in the city, but Mount Rainier has always made Seattle one of the most dangerous places to live in the world because if it erupts, that could be the end for you. And people look at it like, well, it's supposed to erupt in the next million years. I'll take my chances. So, yeah, again, I'll just say for people who think this stuff's confirmation bias or just coincidence every day, I mean, I wish you guys would be the ones who would call in and explain to me why you think it's a coincidence that this bizarre thing happens with this many earthquakes and they just stop on the 10/7 date. Why is that? And then don't even get me started on 7/8 because we all know what 7/8's about. That's about the order who controls our military, the Jesuits. You know. So that would just summarize another key point I often make. And keep in mind, Seattle is one of the remaining cities with the Jesuit University. There are 27 Jesuit universities remaining in the nation. 2 of them are in Washington State. One is Seattle U, and the other is Gonzaga. Washington State, the first Jesuit university in the states in Washington, D.C., again, established right before George Washington, which Washington State's named after, became the first recognized president. But yeah, don't forget the first UFO sighting was in front of Rainier in 47 before it went down to New Mexico. The next UFO sighting in the New Mexico, the 47th state in 47. And don't forget Billy Goat Gates and Bezos both established their companies in New Mexico and moved them up to Seattle on the 47th parallel. That's why the Space Needle's up in Seattle, because of that UFO sighting. And this whole thing about why I covered this at the time, it was about 19 volcanoes erupting at the same time. It's like, 19, Vulcan, the volcano god, Seattle, city with a big infamous volcano. If you've never been to Seattle, being in Seattle on a beautiful sunny day, you'll probably feel like you're in the most beautiful place in the world. Granted, I haven't been all over the world, but Seattle is a very beautiful place on a sunny day because it's completely surrounded by mountains on all sides. And Rainier just looks like a monster. Rainier is a huge mountain. It's like if you go down to Portland, a few hours south of Seattle, it's surrounded by mountains too, but not as big as the ones around Seattle. And the mountains you see, like Mount Hood and Mount St. Helens, which also erupted, they're very small compared to Rainier. Rainier looks like a monster. Rainier looks like if it erupted, he would be in big trouble. It is one big mountain. So, yeah, and again, the point I'm making also and trying to get people to understand is we are played with. And I suppose the people who have the keys to this technology, the kind of stuff that could make a perfect experiment from July 8th through July 10th, I'm pretty sure that if they wanted to crank up the dial, they could cause some problems. And that's why I think about Mr. John Holloway, my former professor, saying over and over that we should not live in Seattle. And I didn't take his advice because when I got out of college, I moved up to Seattle. Granted, because I had a lot of friends and family up there. I still live pretty close to Rainier, but I'm on the other side of it now. If it erupted, it's supposed to flow towards Seattle because the blown outside that's the way it would likely. I'm on the other side now. I'm east of it. So anyway, uh, yeah. Again, it blows me away that more people don't want to learn this knowledge, because I've never found anything that's just more revealing day after day. Put me more ahead of the curve. Um, Helped me out in all kinds of ways, including financially by a long shot. The Pennsylvania 911 emergency blackout that happened on 7/11. Remember when Trump confused 9/11 with 7/11 in Buffalo? On the same day that this happened, Khalik Sheikh Mohammed, his plea deal was nixed by the federal government on the same day. And something that's interesting about this might seem a little bit goofy, but I'm going to tell you why it's probably not. Pennsylvania won the Super Bowl. And from the day they won it on February 9th, scoring 40 points on the 40th day of the year in tribute to 40 acres and a mule, because it was Super Bowl 59 and slave equals 59. Remember, the only two Super Bowls between black quarterbacks have both been Mahomes and Hurts, and the first one was on Lincoln's birthday, who freed the slaves. Anyway, from that Super Bowl to this blackout was 152 days later, and Pennsylvania equals 152. It was on the 131st day of AT&T's age. Super Bowl and championship equal 131. Always a big championship number. Last year, Jalen Hurts, Eagles 13-1. Jalen Hurts, 131 passing yards in game one of the playoffs. It's like the Thunder scoring 131 in their first game in the playoffs and then going on to win the championship this year. It happens all the time. But I bring this up because remember last year, if for people who don't know, AT&T is who made 911 the national emergency dialing code. But last year, after the Celtics, representing the 617 area code, defeated Dallas on 617, couldn't have seen it coming any further away. It was so obvious. But remember, right after Boston beat Dallas, where AT&T's headquartered, Massachusetts had a 911 power outage. It happened right after, though. This is a little more spaced out, but it does seem to be synced with the Super Bowl. Again, it seems like a really dumb thing, but again, the cabal does do dumb things and just highly ritualistic all the time. There's definitely something to this happening on 7/11, the same day that Khalik Sheikh Mohammed had his plea deal nixed by the feds. We covered this briefly when it was in the news, but in case you missed this, a Hermes bag sold for $7.4 million on the 191st day of the year in Paris, France, the home of the Society of Jesus, when Jesus and Hermes are compared. Notice, Society of Jesus, 191, 191st day of the year. Jesus alone, 74. Of course, Jesus Christ, also 74. But yeah, it's so obvious that that's the ritual. Again, this happens in Paris, the home of the Society of Jesus. And did you see what happened to a Paris comedian on this same day? He supposedly fell off the top of a building. On the very same day, out of the same city. Society of Jesus, 191, that's the 43rd prime. The comedian was 43 years old. Went flying off the top of a building, supposedly by accident, at age 43 on the 191st day of the year, again in Paris, the home of the Society of Jesus, a.k.a. the Jesuits. And you see how Society of Jesus is 56 and 187, just like Paris, France is. And with regards to that comedian dying at 43, RIP's 43, killings 43. I should mention, Jesus Christ is 43, and according to science, he was crucified on April 3rd, 4/3, which is the 93rd day of the year. Again, you can look it up. It's in the science books now that they traced it to April 3rd, 33 AD. 93rd day of the year, like crucifix is 93, like God's Son's 93, like Nazareth's 93, like Triclavianism is 93. That's the Roman form of capital punishment, which is 3 nails on the cross. Covered this as well, very quickly. Again, just Tim Rooney, the latest member of the Jesuit Rooney family to die at 84. And he died on 7/8. I mean, come on. Jesuit 78 and 84. Go see my older work going back years about this Rooney family that runs the Steelers and their deaths connected to 84. It's almost every offseason. And he did die on a 60 date numerology in the year of Super Bowl 60, and he won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. Well, the Giants are the 25 team, and he's dead in 2025. He's connected to the Steelers and the Giants. They mentioned how he worked with the Steelers, the Jesuit run team, from 72 to 79. Jesuit Order 72, Society of Jesus 79. I'm surprised by how few views my video got yesterday on the latest with Trump and Epstein and Murdoch, and how it seems to be pointing to Richard Nixon and his resignation, and J.D. Vance becoming president like Teddy Roosevelt, who he's been compared to. If you missed that video, almost nobody watched it. I think we're ahead of the curve again. I think we're going to land another one. Also, this was brought up in the past week. If you missed this, somebody said check out this document from 1970 written by the Forest Service at the federal level in Washington, D.C. in the year 1970. Forest fire is a military weapon. Again, this was published on the Illuminati's birthday, May 1st, 1970. But look at the author's name, Craig C. Chandler, 70, like Fire 70, published in 70. Again, you can do this all day, just going through the history of federal government rituals by the numbers. But yeah, let me keep scrolling down here. Shout out to Thunder King, who put me onto this one. Pokemon, the last 2 Pokemon-related actors to die. One just passed on July 8th, James Carter Cathcart. The last one to die before him was Rachel Lillis. Notice her birthday is July 8th. He dies on July 8th. She died last year on August 10th. So he dies almost a year later, but on her birthday anniversary. And he pointed out that Cathcart just died at 71, and he was the voice of Pokemon. Again, I'm not a Pokemon guy, but Vectreble, if that's how you say it, Vestreble. But that's listed as the 71st Pokemon. He's dead at 71. She voiced Misty, the 55th Pokemon, and died at 55. Again, when I first learned of this, I said, no wonder that phrase exists. Your number is up. Your number is up. And there's probably a lot more to this, but I just thought just keeping it short and simple, that's a really easy thing to see. And she did die 33 days after her birthday for more familiar patterns. But he died exactly 4 months after his birthday, like 4 is associated with death. But yeah, thank you to this gentleman who made those observations. Again, show business is deadly business. Also, shout out to Joe Mo 604. Did you guys know that the 1983 plot of Superman involves a weather satellite as a weapon? This came out in 83, right? And we know the new Superman movie just released on July 11th, 11/7, like 117, like Kryptonite and Superman and Bitcoin crypto eclipsed 117K for the first time in history. If you missed my video on Bitcoin eclipsing 117 on the 11th day of the 7th month, you should go back and check that out. Back when I called the Bitcoin 72 ritual right on the numbers, I said, it'll probably go down from here, and it did. It went back down to 50K, but I said the next milestone is going to be 117, and they did it on the 11th of July, the day they released the Superman movie, right after Mr. XRP, who started with Bitcoin, presented XRP to the Senate. And Ripple Coin also does have that 117, just like Central Intelligence Agency, which is clearly behind the crypto excitement, getting people excited about digital currency, which the government wants to use to track every last thing you do. But anyway, the new Superman movie came out 1 week after the flooding in Texas, which had a lot to do with 83. Superman 3 came out in the year 83, okay? That was the same year that Stevie Ray Vaughan put out Texas Flood. But the significance of the weather satellite is super interesting because, again, remember, weather satellite equals 249. This year, July 4th, the country turned 249 years old. they compared what happened in Kerrville to what happened on the same river 38 years earlier. And again, Lyndon Johnson, who's from Texas, he gave the speech at Texas State University about who controls the weather controls the world on May 27th, 62, which was 38 days before July 4th. But again, he talked about a weather satellite, Lyndon Johnson, who was not quite the president. He was the vice president at the time. This is about a year before JFK's assassinated, a year and a half. And remember, James Kerr, who Kerrville's named after, his birthday is the 24th of September, 249. The flood was a span of 83 days from his birthday. Kerrville's the 830 area code. Genesis 8:3 is where the biblical flood ends. So isn't it weird that the 83 Superman film also talked about this weather satellite, and then a new Superman movie comes out a week after this happens? And remember, a lot of places were underwater on July 11th too. There was flooding all over the day the Superman movie released. So yeah, shout out to Jomo for that observation. Doesn't seem like an accident. Doesn't seem like an accident at all. Here's the French comedian Bun Hai-min. Flew off a building at 43 on the 191st day of the year on July 10th. Keep in mind, ritual sacrifice equals 107 as well. But 191, 43rd prime, Society of Jesus, Jesus Christ. Again, these songs out there that have been out there for a long time. Murder by Numbers by the Police out there since 83 about killings as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. Gematria, the killing name. If you throw a the in front of it, the Society of Jesus is 224. He died on the 224th day of his age. Gematria32 yesterday called in with Timothy Leary's FBI code name, if you missed that. It was revealed in 74 of all years, Charlie Thrush. And just look at the numbers, you guys. These just recurring numbers, Illuminati numbers. Illuminati's 150 and 69. The Jesuit Order's 69 and 201. Again, the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. It's also 75, which is his age of death. In Hollywood, the land of stars. And of course, Timothy Leary, star. And not to mention he's Jesuit educated. He went to Holy Cross. But yeah, man, I don't know everything about Timothy Leary. I mean, really, the one thing I know about him is think for yourself, question authority, and his advocating for the use of hallucinogenic drugs. Of course, all things can be abused, but I definitely think there is a place for using hallucinogenic drugs in a responsible way that can be an enlightening way. Again, magic mushrooms, when taken in the right conditions at the right dosage level, I feel like something that can do a lot of positivity for a lot of people. Enlightening, eye-opening, getting over lifelong hurdles, solving problems you just couldn't solve before. These things are very possible with psilocybin, which comes from magic mushrooms, which come from nature. Again, Terence McKenna did a lot of work. And Terence McKenna might very well be another Timothy Leary type too. Also on the news, Olympian medalist dead from lightning. And the joke seems pretty transparent. Again, the Olympics go back to Greece. Zeus, the Greek god, connected to lightning. This was in the news on July 16th, the day leaving 168 days left in the year. His name equals 168. I mean, yeah, people call it confirmation bias, but to me, it's just, that's not what I think it is. I think it's just obvious. I didn't write the songs about this. I didn't invent this practice. Literally, I was born in 83. I might have been born a month or two before the Police put out that song. And again, is it just entertainment, or are they dropping clues in reality? Or I should just say in popular culture. But yeah, it just annoys me when people are like, all this is just confirmation bias. Like, You don't find... Have you ever paid attention to how many Olympic athletes die at pretty young ages? I mean, I've covered so many of these over the years. And to be struck by lightning, think about how rare that is. But then again, if you put this in front of the average person, are they going to connect the same dots? I mean, they should be able to. It's all pretty. I mean, you did probably learn in slave school, like I did, that the Olympics go back to Greece, and you probably learned about Zeus, the lightning god. So here's another point I want to make. I think with this information, it would be so much easier if I was just a grifter with it. Again, just the whole God thing, right? You just talk about God all the time and everything's God. That appeals to a lot of people because that's people's mind conditioning. God this, God that, everything's God. If I was just like on here like, guys, God, I mean, it's just so clear that God did this and this is obviously how God works. And don't get me wrong, because I have talked about that. I think there is an organic side, and this is the Kabbalistic belief that God does operate this way. I do think there's an organic side, but I also think there's a very nefarious side, like the world of entertainment has revealed. But if I didn't, the point I'm making is if I didn't focus on the nefarious side and I just got on here and just everything was God, 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 and it was all about God, and I just feel like that would appeal to a lot more people. We've seen the total internet loser grifters who had no following go from 10K to 500K once they got into the God grift. I'm talking about like Retard from Boston and people like this. I wish more people would appreciate that I just stay authentic. I don't go for any of the grift shit. And I get annoyed when people say I'm a grifter. No, I'm an educator, and I'm dropping real education that's enlightening, that could have changed the world for the better in a lot of curious moments in history, in terms of Cooties 19 especially, because we saw it coming a million miles before it got here, and then once it was here, we spelled it out in cards, and I put out a book real quick on it, why they'd wind down their scam as soon as the year of the tiger came around, which is exactly what they did. And the whole thing was by the numbers, and I don't think it had one bit to do with God. I think it had every bit to do with Kabbalistic corruption, if you will. Let's see, what other posts did we go through here? Oh yeah, everybody cares so much about this. I mean, come on, man. The Astronomer CEO busted on the Kiss-cam at the Coldplay concert while they're singing the song Yellow. I remember that song well because I was in high school and my girlfriend back then liked that song. But the song starts, look at the stars, look at how they shine for you. I mean, it's just like, okay. And then again, you just apply the gematria thing, and I guess maybe this is all confirmation bias, but here. All right, so they're busted on the jumbotron. Here, let's just look at all the overlap of just how they, because this is what I'm saying. Every day they're fitting these stories together like this. Jumbotron, Coldplay. Okay, let's just start here. They're both 128.38, 128.38, right? So Coldplay and Jumbotron just happen to have these things. These are key elements in the story. The singer for Coldplay is Chris Martin. Chris Martin, an astronomer. Let's compare them. Okay, Chris Martin, 132.60. Astronomer, 132.60. The 48 matters because Chris Martin's 48 years old, and this happened on 48 date numerology. 7 plus 16 plus 25. This was all over the headlines on July 18th, 138 days after the lead singer's birthday. Astronomer also 138. So within his name, or within the word astronomer, you hit all the bases with the ritual. Just the stuff that people care about. Like, again, the critics of my work are the same people who had their slave muzzles on and went out and got the pokey dokes and probably freaked out when they saw they were reporting that there was a toilet paper shortage, and they're the same ones that get all into a story like this, and this is what they find is important to talk about. I mean, literally, this story that's so viral right now, to me, it's just like, who gives a shit? I mean, who cares? How can you possibly care about this? Where in the world does this matter right now? I can't tell you how many people have to comment for me to cover this story. Pay attention to the Astronomer brand. Obviously, it puts it on the map. Are we on the verge of some big news with Astronomer? I saw the latest thing is that the CEO resigned after getting busted on the Kiss-cam. But it's just, I mean, literally, who cares? Dumbotron. Is this really about the Dumbos that care about this kind of news? Every day, it's just nonstop bullshit distractions. All that matters is that you are controlled by a government that lies to you, makes war needlessly, overtaxes you, and uses you like you're some kind of little animal, like you're some mouse running around on their wheel for their benefit. It's the only thing that matters every single day. But nobody wants to think about that. It's easier to think about this. Oh my god, did you hear about what happened on the Jumbotron at the Coldplay concert? Again, the flash flooding threats of yesterday. Apparently, just outside of LA, there was flash flooding, and fire department had to rescue some people from the river. But yesterday was the 199th day of the year, 46 prime, like flash flood and flooding are 46. We covered the Genius Act thing, just more proof that the Jesuits are all behind the crypto. The Jesuit Trump putting his John Hancock on it. So anyway, I think that's the latest. Yeah, it's still a time. Oh, I didn't even look into the LA thing. They said it happened early this morning. I did see on TV the guy was saying it was a chaotic scene. Remember, 19's the chaos code. They're saying this happened early this morning on the 19th. The year began with a big car ramming story in New Orleans. I'm sure there's a lot more to it, but yeah, I saw the police spokesperson talking about the chaotic scene. Again, to me, all this stuff is just about invoking fear. Why go out to the club when you can just stay home and watch Netflix and have DoorDash delivered to you? Scotty Scheffler yesterday had a crazy comeback 27 days after his birthday at the U.S. Open. U.S. Open 27. Yesterday on the 199th day of the year, the first game on the MLB slate was the Cubs beating Boston, giving Boston their 46th loss on the 199th day, the 46th prime. The Cubs picked up their 58th win. And just for the record, that new Pope from Chicago, remember the last Pope died on the 312th day of Trump's age, the Chicago area code. And Philly's the 267 area code, and the new Pope went to Villanova outside Philly. But we got the new Pope on May 8th. Or not May 8th, that's not. His birthday is September 14th, is what I wanted to say. And this game yesterday, I just want to show you this about the Cubs. Cubs just happened to get their 58th win 58 days before the first American Pope's birthday, who's from Chicago, when he became Pope on May 8th, 5-8. You know, for years, just showing how sports are rigged with these people in high places. Popes, presidents, world leaders. Again, where's your argument? Pope Leo. Oh, by the way, did you see the score yesterday? It was 1-4. 1-4 for Leo. Leo, 14. That was the score of the Cubs game yesterday for the 58th win, 58 days before his birthday. But yeah, in case you don't know that his birthday is the 14th of September, here it is right here. Remember Trump did that AI image of him as the Pope on May 5th, 5-5. This guy's born in 55. Of course, Satan equals 55. Mega, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. But yeah, I pity the fool who thinks this stuff's confirmation bias. Trump got 58% of the Electoral College. The first time around, he won the 58th election after announcing from the 58-story Trump Tower. Now, don't forget, Epstein died 58 days after Trump's birthday. And now the latest is the video's edited at 11:58 p.m. and 58 seconds past the minute, a double 58. So, anyway. All right, I just want to do a little quick short stream here, get caught up on some of these stories you guys asked me about in days past, or let me know that I'd let slip through the cracks. Appreciate it, Leopard Messiah. You are putting digital paper in my pocket a lot. Make sure you're saving up that rainy day fund. I do appreciate your continued generosity. And Susan D says, great work, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, I got to keep it short and sweet because I snuck in here while Sweet Girl's taking a nap. I know she's going to get up pretty soon, and I have some other errands to run. If anybody does go out and see the Eddington movie, please let me know. I do want to go see it, but I'll tell you what, if I didn't have, I haven't been to a movie theater. God, I can't remember the last time I went to a movie theater to see a movie. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It might have been it might have been, the last time I went to a movie theater might have been when I first started dating Sweet Lady. Um, I haven't been to a movie theater for a long time. Uh, but I got to see this Eddington movie in light of them basing a character, at least in part, on my work. So I gotta see how they did that. And like I said, I was watching other people's reviews of it. Like I said, I watched about 8 reviews. 3 gay men all hate that character, and you know what I said to you guys? I mean, there's some people that like taking it in the rear end, and I'd say pretty much all those people are my critics. If you like getting pounded in your rear end on the daily, like getting mocked and just getting effed, I can understand why you're a critic of mine because I'm trying to expose that kind of stuff. So I found it quite ironic that it was 3 gay men that all hated the Austin Butler character, and they also couldn't comprehend it. So I did find that a bit ironic too. Could be even more of those types of reviews out there. I'll have to check. Jurassic Park? What about Jurassic Park? Are you saying that's the last time I went to a movie theater, Jurassic Park? I've been there since I was a kid when Jurassic Park came out. I don't know about the Clackamas Community College Barlow secret. I don't. All right. All right. Anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. And well, hold on. Let me just scan. Let me scan all the headlines real quick. Make sure there's nothing else. Israel's blockade claims life of Gaza infant dead from starvation. Remember, they banned formula. They've been bombing water lines. Uh, America landed the free, home of the brave. But again, you're a bad person if you don't like this. You can be muted and silenced if you speak out against this. No, this is not the land of the free, home of the brave. Let's see. Yeah, the car plowing into the club, just big story. Oh, is that where the Vermont? Is that the name? What could that be about? The Vermont. Is Bernie Sanders up next? The Vermont. I see the 130 like human sacrifice. I gotta think. I gotta think more about it. Looks like the club was the Vermont though. The driver was dragged by bystanders outside of the Nissan Versa and beaten and shot. They used a little tiny car to ram people. That's interesting. Uh, hmm. Let me see. The Vermont Club, Los Angeles. Where's this at? 1020. Who was performing when this happened? Who played it? Who performed at the Vermont last night? Trapton. I don't know who that is. Let's see. Trapton Party. Reggaeton. Oh my god. Can I just get something that I can highlight? They don't look like they're a real big group. Or not like some major celebrities. Yeah, I'd have to think more about it. But tourist boat capsizes in Vietnam, huh? Probably scare Americans thinking about going over there. You can live for pennies on the dollar over there. Stay in America. We want your taxes. Yeah, also remember, you guys, tomorrow I suspect will be a busy day. 201st day of the year. Last year on the 201st day of the year, it was July 19th because it was leap year. That was the major tech outage, the biggest in world history. But tomorrow, the 201st day of the year and 52 date numerology. And both numbers very much connected to weather control and flooding throughout history. So, unfortunately, I suspect I'll be talking about that again tomorrow. Thank you, John Mendoza. Appreciate it, man. John with always with the generous too. Can I decode the Mellow Bucks shooting in Chicago? Mellow Bucks. This happened 4 days ago. It's a she. 4 dead again. 4 dead. Local rapper Mellow Bucks expressed heartbreak over the mass shooting that killed 4 people and wounded 14 others. This is the one that happened on a Wednesday, isn't it? I think so, because Chicago, Wednesday, and shooting are all 37. Because I remember seeing that 4 dead, 14 injured. All right, hold up. This story was updated on July 3rd. That was not the day of the shooting, though. Yeah, it was late Wednesday night. Yeah, I remember seeing this. I talked about it. I didn't realize the rappers connected, but Wednesday's 37, like Chicago's 37, like shooting's 37. So then you get the update from the rapper on the date that can be written 3/7. A dark colored vehicle drove by and someone inside opened fire on a crowd near the 300 block of West Chicago Avenue around 11 p.m. They sure like to put the 3 and the 11 together. 11, 3, 3, 11. River North. Look at this. Look at this. The shooting took place around 11 p.m. outside the Eris Restaurant and Lounge at the address 311. Come on, man. Hey, just for the record, 311 is the 64th prime, like Kill is 64. Always with the same numbers. Man, that's confirmation bias. And I really do feel, I both hate and feel bad for my critics because I know that the real problem is they're retarded and they don't recognize that about themselves, that they're low IQ and dumbed down and don't know the difference between undeniable patterns and ritual and confirmation bias, which is an idea put in their mind by the cabal so that they'll just automatically dismiss everything that's happening in front of their face every day. Look at me, I learned the phrase confirmation bias, and now without doing any research, I just say it because I'm a bot. You know what's crazy? Yesterday, that game between Boston and Chicago was also perfectly synced with Theo Epstein, who ended the 86-year drought for Boston and the 108-year drought for Chicago. It was 201 days after his birthday. First game on the slate. There's always something curious about the first game on the slate late when it starts hours before all the other games for the day. Mellow Bucks. With that spelling, they got the 47 in there, huh? is there any information about this person? CBS brought in the Mellow Bucks detail on the 4th of July. And remember, that was the same day that supposedly you had the deletion of the Outlaws rapper at age 47 on the 4th of July. I don't know what to say because it doesn't look like this person's famous enough to have much information out there about him. Are they an up-and-comer? Oh, here we go. They do have a date of birth. April 9th, 2001. Born on the 99th day of the year. Illinois got that 99 connection. April 9th, 2025. July, it must have been July 2nd because that was the Wednesday. So it happened 84 days after her birthday. 84. We know who that number is special to. Huh. Yeah, I guess see if Mellow Bucks is an up-and-comer. But yeah, the shooting in a 37 on Chicago, that's definitely what stands out. Okay. Okay. Her boyfriend and her best friend died. Yeah, I guess pay attention to see if she's an up-and-comer. All right, I do got to get off, you guys. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. And until next time, True Seeker.